um, I always learn from your sales skills and your networking skills. And this is something that I would like to touch in this interview. How did you develop them? First of all, I can see that it's probably a family trait that you had since you were a kid. But what makes a good salesperson, and what do you think are the main traits here?
Okay. So again, by the grace of God, I wrote a book called You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar. It's a long name, and you got to think about it. You can't teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar. That's a sales book? Yeah. Because the author who I wrote it for, David Sandler, unfortunately, another one of my deceased friends. David Sandler died way too early, but he established Sandler Training. And Sandler Training is a franchise. I think there are maybe 250 units now in something like 30 countries. And they are teaching people how to sell. Doesn't matter what you're going to sell. They teach you how to sell. So I wrote, You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar, because Sandler's premise was, you don't learn sales or the skill of selling by going to a seminar for a day. That's not going to work. It's like riding a bike. Learning how to be a good salesman is like riding a bicycle. And almost everybody can identify with that, because everybody has learned how to ride a bicycle. You get on and you have training wheels. And then the training wheels come off, and what happens? You fall. And somebody's got to pick you up and encourage you, brush off the dirt, put you back on the bike, coach you, hold the back of the seat, run along the bike with you, and let go, and you run into a tree. And again, they got to go pick you up, put you back on the bike, put a Band-Aid on your bruises, and coach you and say, okay, now when you do this, get your balance. They're coaching you through it. Well, that's selling. You need a coach. And I was very fortunate. Sandler was my coach. And I loved working with his franchise, loved working with his franchisees. He created the Sandler Submarine, the 7 steps of selling. And if anybody can learn those steps, go read You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar. It's still out there. The Sandler people, franchisees, would give that book away because it would be a way for them to attract people to their coaching programs, that you would sign up for a year of coaching or 6 months of coaching with a Sandler trainer. And they're all over the country. But I'll say this. Ken D'Angelo never took a sales training course, nor did Don Dwyer, nor did DeLuca that I'm aware of. But they were all natural salespeople. They probably didn't read You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar, but they didn't need to. And they were, again, visionaries. They attracted people. They had other qualities. In D'Angelo's case, he being a friend, his loving nature toward people was very attractive. So you got to develop these skills. You got to, no matter where you come from, you got to, you've got to understand what people want and then how to talk to them. And some of it is talk their language. So as you know, I believe very much in the DISC, D-I-S-C profile. I give every student a DISC profile because I need to know if you're a D, an I, an S, or a C, what combination you are. I need to know your DISC profile because if you're a high D profile like Umberto, well, I know I can get together with Umberto and I got to get in his face. I might have to hit him on the head to make a point because the D is very driven, dominant, visionary, wants to go get it done. You got to get their attention. Sometimes you got to shake them up, but you don't do that to an S. You'd scare the heck out of an S personality. You've got to talk softly. You've got to talk a little slower with the S. Each of those personalities is different, and you got to know how to relate. And that's part of selling. So when you go out and talk to someone, knowing what their profile is gives you a great advantage. And what's in it for them? You got to be thinking, why are they going to give me $5,000 or $50,000 or sign this contract or agree to come to my university or agree to study franchising, whatever it is, join my advisory board? What's going to convince them to do that? Well, I got to show them what's in it for them. And that's, where you got to concentrate before, then asking for the sale, it just comes along.
I would like to ask you a question about sales because I'm very interested about this topic. I'm studying a lot about this topic. I'm reading a lot of books about sales, and the thing that I would like to ask you is, like, do you think there's a specific process that a salesman has to apply every single time, or you think it's more adaptable? Because what I'm studying is sometimes, like, you have the beginning when you ask a lot of questions and you're taking some data about the lead. Then the second part, you're combining the benefits of the product with the needs of the lead. So you have like a process, like a specific process in your mind that you have to follow every single time. Like, do you think it's correct, or you prefer maybe to change a little bit depending on the situation? Sometimes you leave the lead to ask you the questions first.
So Matteo, I'll tell you this, at my age of life, and having been through the number of businesses I've been through, having worked with the number of clients internationally that I've worked with, everything is a system. Selling is a system. Learn the system. There are variations of the system. There are times when you would normally do A, B, and C, but there are times when you're only going to do A and C, times when you're only going to do B and M and N. There are 7 steps to the Sandler system. And it's not because it's the greatest book on sales. Nobody ever said that. You only need to read. You can't teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar. That's the only sales book you need to read. And then do what David Sandler tells you to do in that book. Put the 7 steps of that system to work, and you will succeed. You don't need to do more than that. But there are adaptations that you have to make. And like generating leads or cold calling, which nobody wants to do. Sandler would say you might as well put your arm in a meat grinder if you're going to do cold sales. Nobody wants to do that on the telephone or door to door, but you got to do a little bit of that in some cases. Now with technology, which didn't exist when Sandler was alive, the technology that we have with social media, lead generation is a completely different story now. But you can just learn one system. And I love the Sandler system because I've helped develop it at times. I've helped train it. I've been a student of it with David. I'm bringing the president of Sandler training to the university in January 2021 at Palm Beach Atlantic. We will have the Selling Franchises Boot Camp. It's a 2-day sales boot camp. My keynote speaker on day 1 is David Mattson. He was the #1 franchisee of Sandler. He replaced Sandler eventually as CEO of the company. He is a great sales trainer, and he's going to be with us on campus. He will be available to my students. That's the kind of training you need. Studying sales forever, I wouldn't recommend anybody do that. I would recommend select the system, learn it, practice it, refine it, and get going.
Mm-hmm.